fourth thing that I think that we need to have some level of consensus on is that the obsession with testing, both in the pass formulation and in the Common Core formulation that we're going to read about tomorrow, the next day when the results come out, puts the emphasis in the wrong place. Not to say that evaluating students is problematic, but we are allowing, it's the high-stakes part of the high-stakes testing that is creating so much tension in classrooms with teachers and with administrators. You know, there's an enormous incentive, and you're going to see it in a couple of days when these results come out after the Common Core, after the first tests under the new Common Core framework come out. You're going to have people howling from the rooftops. That data is going to be proof point of whatever case people want to make. In fact, we've got to keep in mind that for the children who are in the schools, they're not reading the editorial pages of the New York Post. They're trying to figure out how they're just trying to learn, and their parents are trying to learn. We can't have it both ways. We can't every day thump our chest about saying, you know what, the school systems are failing, we're failing a generation of kids. And then when we try to do something seismic, when we try to do something to reorient this Titanic of the school system, that there aren't some problems, that it's not going to be easy. And I am not going to be joining my colleagues in beating up the mayor, or beating up the school system, or beating up the Common Core curriculum. What I am going to be doing is saying this. If we're going to do these things, we've got to have teachers not only bought in, but well-trained. We've got to have teachers. They can't have 45-minute sessions every couple of months. We've got to have, I've proposed having a whole Common Core boot camp for teachers. I proposed training a whole collection of master teachers in the Common Core curriculum and what it involves. I propose having regular teacher training. Teachers, I think, are generally very responsive to the idea of learning best practices. This notion that teachers are kind of set in their ways, I want to do things the way they were always done, is not true. Teachers are constantly figuring out ways within the confines of their classroom to make things work. And let me conclude with this point. I would talk to my mother about her experiences in the classroom. She's a retired teacher. And she actually retired at the beginning of some of Mike Bloomberg's least productive reforms, when they were in this obsession about how a classroom was going to look, and how the desks were going to be in a certain position, the walls were going to look a certain way. And I asked my mother, I said, well, isn't it important that you have these kind of consistent thematic things in classrooms so that you can compare one class to another, one teacher to another? And she reminded me something that the educators in the room probably realize, that when you're looking out over a class of 25 or 30 kids, that sometimes represents 25 or 30 distinct teaching challenges that often require you kind of understanding on the roll, as the semester is going along, which students you're going to have to handle in different ways. That's what makes teaching more of an art than I think the mayor and some people who talk about education think it's a science. And so if we honor that ethos, that it's that teachers are going to ultimately be the people who are painting on this tapestry most directly, and that if we give them the tools that they need, and we have a conversation with them, survey after survey says that when parents say, who do they most hold accountable for the execution of education policy? It's not mayors, it's not superintendents, it's teachers. That's the case, and by the way, I think the public's right about that. In my administration, we're going to honor that. We're going to turn down the temperature of some of these generational fights. We're going to try to put the new curriculum in place in a way that we're competing not only against one school against another, but we're competing against Poughkeepsie, we're competing against Pittsburgh, and we're competing against Peking. That's the imperative that we have.
Thank you.